Okay, welcome to our training on special education frequently asked questions 3.0. This training will cover some of the most commonly frequently asked questions about high school years and transition. As part of our frequently asked questions series, we also offer special education frequently asked questions 1.0 that covers the identification, referral, and evaluation part of special education. Special education frequently asked questions 2.0 covers IEPs. To ensure this training is helpful and relevant to you, we will be doing some interactive activities and we'll ask you at the end to complete an evaluation. The evaluation results help us to continuously improve this training and others. It should take you less than 2 minutes to complete the evaluation. Everyone completing an evaluation will receive a copy of this PowerPoint and a certificate of attendance. If at any time you lose the audio or video, you may call in using the phone number included in your registration information. Participants are encouraged to submit questions in the chat box. And there will also be a question and answer time at the end of this webinar. And I'm Wallace Johnson, your presenter for this training of Special Education Frequently Asked Questions 3.0. Families Helping Families is one of the 10 nonprofit family resource centers in the Families Helping Families network. We are here to provide parents and youth and children and adults with disabilities or special health care needs, information and support and assistance through sharing and outreach and training like we're doing today. This training was created with funding from the United States Department of Education to the Louisiana Parent Training Information Center. It's a program of Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans in collaboration with the Louisiana State Department of Education to be used by the statewide network of Families Helping Families resource centers. Families Helping Families in Southwest Louisiana provides webinars and in-person trainings on special education and disability-related topics. We invite you to check out our website and our Facebook page for our frequently upcoming events. And we also would like you to register for any upcoming trainings that might be of interest to you. We also invite you to request specific topics that are not being offered, because chances are if you're interested in a topic, someone else is too. And Melinda Elliott is going to cover the slide for LACAN. So I'll let her talk for a few minutes on that.
Great. Thank you, Wallace. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time during your webinar to talk about this. Like Wallace said, my name is Melinda Elliott. I'm the LACAN Region 5 team leader. So like the Families Helping Families Center, I cover Allen, Beauregard, Jeff Davis, Calcasieu, and Cameron parishes. But LACAN is a statewide grassroots advocacy network. We link lawmakers, people with disabilities, professionals, and family members to make positive change in systems that serve people with disabilities. We also, as a group, advocate for policies and systems that support inclusion everywhere people learn, live, work, play. LACAN advocates for systems that support children and adults with disabilities to live in their own homes, to be fully included, participating members of schools and communities. The leaders, like myself, provide connection with a regional team of advocates, provide information on proposed policy changes and how those changes might affect you and others. We also provide training and skills to effectively advocate for systems change, and we support you to link with your policymakers. We are working on 3 major issues this legislative session. One of them we've been working on for several legislative sessions about cameras in the special education classrooms. We have a bill that's being proposed for that by Senator Hoyle. We are also working on additional funding for the Families Helping Family Centers. And finally, we're working on a $2 an hour rate increase for the DSWs. And out of that increase for beginning DSWs base rate of pay. So they wouldn't necessarily they definitely wouldn't start at minimum wage. So if you're interested in any of those things, you can go to the website that will be on this PowerPoint, www.LACANadvocates, all one word, .org, and sign up. You're basically signing up to get the emails. And then you can decide what to do depending on the email and how you feel about the issues. And you know, if there's any questions, chat me up. I can see the chat and answer questions there. And I appreciate it, Wallace.
Thank you, Belinda. Let's start by doing a quick icebreaker activity. And our icebreaker activity is name something that is purple. And I'll start by giving an example. I love grape flavored snowballs. And you could type your response in the chat box or maybe unmute yourself if you can. Either way, and let me know about something purple. I have a response that says, the people eater is purple, from the little nursery rhyme. And some people have purple hair is another response. And another one I have, I love purple grapes. So all of those are great responses. And again, thank you for responding to us. You know, we appreciate your responses.
You have one more, Wallace. LSU's purple and gold, and someone said a purple egg.
Correct. And yes, I'm sure we had a few of those for Easter. For those that like to hunt and eat Easter eggs, I ate a few over Easter too. Today, our learning objectives are to go over some commonly used acronyms and terms, to answer some frequently asked questions about transition planning, and to answer some frequently asked questions about adult service agencies. And then we're going to show you about resources and where to find resources for transition, you know, moving from high school into the adult world. So those are our goals, and we hope to accomplish that today. And we want to make sure this training is useful for families. And one of the ways we do this is with a check-in process. I'm going to launch a check-in poll with 5 statements, and I need you to respond to each statement. Each statement has the following responses. The first response, strongly agree. Second response, agree. Third response, disagree. And the fourth response, strongly disagree. And then the last response, the fifth one, not applicable. And so I'm going to read these questions out loud if you don't mind. The first question, I have a good understanding of the basic IEP process. I have a good understanding of the basic IEP process. And your responses are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. Number 2, I am able to support my child in making decisions about life after high school. I am able to support my child in making decisions about life after high school. Our responses are again, strongly agree, agree, disagree, and strongly disagree, or not applicable. And you may have to scroll down to see some of these questions on your screen. The third question, I understand the different agencies I need to connect with once my child is out of high school. I understand the different agencies I need to connect with once my child is out of high school. Your responses are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. Fourth question, I feel confident in my ability to help my child have a productive life after high school. I feel confident in my ability to help my child have a productive life after high school. Again, your responses are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. And then the last question, number 5, I have a good understanding of the transition part of the IEP. I have a good understanding of the transition part of the IEP. And your responses are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. Okay, and we'll wait for a few more minutes to give you time to complete our poll. And if you need more time, you can let me know in the chat box if you need more time to finish. Okay. Okay, I guess we could go ahead and end the poll. Some commonly used acronyms you'll hear in this presentation are IEP, which is Individualized Education Program, FAPE, Free Appropriate Public Education, VOC Rehab, which is Vocational Rehabilitation Services, SEAL, which is the Center for Independent Living, CAP, which is Client Assistance Program, and some other terms you'll hear about are age of majority, transfer of rights, jumpstart, April Dunn Act, and Leap Connect. What is a transition plan? A transition plan is a statement of transition needs based upon a child's transition assessment and future goals. They must be written into the IEP, and IDEA mandates that an annual IEP meeting focus more on specific planning and goal setting necessary for transition services. Factors to be included are academic preparation, community experience, development of vocational independent living objectives, and if applicable, a functional vocational evaluation. If your child's teacher has been teaching for a long time, they might refer to it as a transitional IEP, but this is what it was called years ago. But please be aware that there's no such thing as a transitional IEP, but an IEP with a transition plan. At what age does a transition plan need to be in place? IDEA requires that the first IEP will be in effect when the student turns 16 years of age, must contain a transition plan. The IEP team may begin discussing transition services with the student before he or she turns 16 if they see fit. There is nothing that prohibits the school from starting the transition plan at an earlier age. So if you can start it at an earlier age, I always say that's a good thing, because the more you can plan and the more you can get a head start usually helps. What if my child doesn't have any future goals? This is okay, because when we started out, we didn't, my experience in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to either, starting out. So if they don't have things in place at the beginning, it's okay. Often students with disabilities don't have future goals because they haven't been given the permission to dream like their non-disabled peers. Every person deserves a chance to have a job they love and live as independent as possible. It's your job as the parent to encourage your child to dream of their future and help them to identify things that they might like to do. All students need to begin thinking about what they want to do as an adult before their first transition meeting takes place. This gives them a chance to take an active role in planning their education and make school relevant to their future. This is the time for the student to propose dreams, set goals for reaching them. It's an avenue for them to prove what he or she can accomplish, to identify things they enjoy and feel competent in doing, and to set themselves on the path of their own choosing. At the same time, they should be realistic about how they'll need to accommodate for their learning difficulties while pursuing their dreams. Transition plans should emphasize students' abilities rather than their areas of difficulty. Some steps high school students can take to prepare for the transition planning process include using their school's career center to identify their interests and find out what education and training are required, completing interest inventories to identify their interests and skills, abilities, and aptitudes as they relate to employment, doing volunteer work or entry-level jobs in their fields or fields of interest, observing and interviewing adults who perform the type of work that interests them, and visiting training institutes and colleges to learn about entrance requirements. This will help the teenager choose the necessary classes in high school. We recognize students with more severe disabilities may have less opportunities, but we should always presume competence and give them the dignity of risk. Just like students without disabilities, students with disabilities often change their career paths and their post-high school dreams. This doesn't mean they failed it. It just simply means they have adjusted their goals to align with their abilities. Now let's share some knowledge. Are there other things you have done or can think of that will help your youth discover interest for future goals? And you can put your responses in the chat box. And I'll see if I can get my chat box to load. All right. Has anybody got any responses?
Yes. Somebody says volunteering.
Yes, volunteering is a definite way you can find or they can get experience, with transition and learning how to do self-advocacy. Volunteering is a good thing. One of the things that I always thought was good is if they have somebody that's doing a career or something that they like, then they could go talk to that person and find out about their job and learn about their job, to find out, interview them, like it said, to see if that's something they may want to do. Because a lot of times if it's someone they know or somebody they're familiar with that has a cool career that they like, a student may feel easily like they can communicate or talk with them. They'll feel comfortable. So I always like doing that. Any other suggestions? If not, we'll move on. How long can my child stay in school? The school district is required to offer free, appropriate, but public education or FAPE to students with disabilities through their 21st birthday, unless the student has received a state diploma. Louisiana Bulletin 1706, the regulations for implementation of the Children with Exceptionalities Act states, a student with a disability shall remain eligible for services until reaching age 22, unless the student has graduated from high school with a regular high school diploma. A student with a disability whose 22nd birthday occurs during the course of the regular school year, as defined by the LEA, may be allowed to remain in school for the remainder of the school year. Now I'm going to talk about a resource. This resource is from the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition, INTAC, the Center for Parent Training Information Sources. It's a 15-page resource designed to help youth with disabilities take steps with transition from school into adult life. So we're going to take a look at this resource. And some of the things this resource is going to cover are questions like, are you worried about where you'll get food and where you live? Are you worried about money? Are you worried about getting help or finding, doctor's appointments or getting your medicine? And also about transportation. Do you know how to get from place to place? Are you worried about how you get around? So this guide covers things like this. It's also filled with a lot more resources and links. This resource is set up like a workbook with lots of questions, and then there's space to write answers. And the link for this is on the slide. So when you get your PowerPoint emailed to you at the end of this presentation, you'll have the link so you can go to these resources. What is Jumpstart? Jumpstart is Louisiana's innovative career and technical program. Jumpstart provides students to lead productive adult lives capable of continuing their education after high school while earning in certifications in high-wage career sectors. Students are required to attain industry-promulgated, industry-valued credentials in order to graduate with a career diploma. Jumpstart is an elective path for students pursuing a university preparatory diploma. And there's a link on your slide. Again, you'll get this resource emailed to you at the end of the presentation. Is Jumpstart for all students with IEPs? Yes. There are several Jumpstart pathways. Students with IEPs can participate in any of them. However, if a student with a disability that has a disability that persistently impacts their ability to progress in the general education curriculum per the April Dunn Act, they become eligible when they meet certain specific criteria. What does the age of majority mean? The age of majority is when all the educational rights provided to the parent transferred to the student when they reach age 18. And at any time, if you have any questions or whatever, you can use the chat box, to let us know.
You do have a couple of comments, Wallace.
Okay. All right. And in the chat box, it says the parent needs to actively participate in the job coaching program and update their job coach with different jobs. We need helping families to reach out to many of the businesses they can do to get a baseline of what's required to work there. Yes, that is good. And job coaches at school, they're a good resource, that you can get with and talk about transition And you can have that discussion on your IEP too. So yes, that is good input. Okay. What does the transfer of rights have to do with my child's IEP? Beginning at least 1 year before a student reaches the age of majority under state law, the student's IEP must include a statement that the student has been informed of his or her rights, if any, under Part B of the Act that will transfer to the student on reaching the age of majority. In addition, parents must be notified that all rights will transfer to their youth. This means once your child turns 18 years old, all of their legal rights will transfer to them after this for decision making. Now we want to share some knowledge again. Think about the potential pros and cons in transferring of rights. What do you immediately think? And you could give your responses in the chat box. And some of this is, I could say, one of the pros, it helps with self-advocacy and self-advocacy skills. You know, so the transfer of rights, you know, it allows a team to actively, you know, become involved in self-advocacy and their life and have a say. So it helps with that. I see in the chat box says my child is growing up. So this is something that when you can talk about the pros and cons. Yes, it's a part of the growing up process. One of the cons is maybe they're unsure about themselves. Maybe they don't know quite how to handle things. So that would be a con. But, you know, at least they should be given a shot to try. Because again, our children and teens don't do things perfectly all the time. They make mistakes, and we as adults still do the same thing. We don't do things perfectly all the time either. We still make mistakes. So this is part of that process. What are the graduation options for students with disabilities? While most students with disabilities in Louisiana will pursue a traditional pathway to high school diploma, certain students with disabilities who have an IEP have alternative pathways to a diploma available to them. Students at the high school level who are eligible under the April Dunn Act can pursue a standard high school diploma by meeting standard graduation requirements through alternate means. Students at the high school level who are addressed on Elite Connect can pursue a diploma pathway by meeting alternate requirements. Resources are available which can assist both educators and families in planning and implementing a successful high school experience for students with disabilities who have IEPs. Now we're going to take a look at some resources where you can find information on graduation. This is a screenshot of the Louisiana Department of Education home page. You can get there by going to the Louisiana Believes with an S on it, .com, louisianabelieves.com. And you will see the blue arrow on the screen. This goes to the Students with Disabilities homepage where the blue arrow is. By clicking on that, it'll bring you to the next page for students with disabilities. This is the landing page for students with disabilities. And where I have the blue arrow, this will bring you to the graduation pathway for students with disabilities. This will bring up a 2-page document with graduation resources for students with disabilities. And you'll see graduation resources will come up. And it's down on the bottom where it says graduation resources of the page. And here is, after you click at the graduation resources information, it comes up. It's about the 2 pages that it was talking about. Who is invited to the transition meeting? IDEA requires that in addition to the parents, the child, the school personnel, and other agency representatives can participate in the transition process as needed. At age 16 or younger, if appropriate, the student must be invited along with representatives of any other agency that is likely to be responsible in providing for or paying for transition services. Outside agency representatives who could be invited to the IEP meeting with parental consent may include a vocational rehabilitation counselor, a social worker, employment agency staff, independent living center staff, disability support staff from a post-secondary or educational or technical school, person knowledgeable about assistive technology, person knowledgeable about financial benefits such as supplemental Social Security income, or also known as SSI, and Medicaid or medical assistance, personal care or health care providers, including mental health care providers, probation officer or a teacher from a juvenile justice center, community park and recreation staff, and transportation agency staff. Families may also invite advocates from an advocacy organization to assist them with interpreting information and follow along. If an agency does not send a representative, the public agency shall take other steps to obtain participation of the agency. If a participating agency fails to provide a transition service that was agreed upon, the IEP team must reconvene and explore alternate ways of the meeting those needs or revise the IEP. Each agency or service provider generally has a different set of criteria and eligibility, and often has a waiting list for services. Families can become overwhelmed with the amount of information, paperwork required for the application and follow through. Part of transition planning can address those issues and identify who families can call on for support and coordination. It can be very beneficial to the whole team if one person is identified as the single point of contact and the service coordinator for the family and other team members. Now we're back at participant sharing time, and I want you to think about other people that could attend your child's IEP meeting. Who are they, and how would your child benefit from them attending? Think about other people that could attend your child's IEP meeting. Who are they, and how would your child benefit from them attending? And you could use your chat box to give your responses. And in the chat box, a person says they can have a job coach. Another one is Louisiana Rehabilitation Services representative. Those are good choices. What is vocational rehabilitation? Vocational rehabilitation, often referred to as voc rehab, it provides comprehensive rehabilitation services that go far beyond those found in routine job training programs. This frequency includes work evaluation and job readiness services, assessments for and provision of assistive technology, such as a customized computer interfaces for persons with physical or sensory disabilities, job counseling services, and medical and therapeutic services. Vocational rehabilitation services are provided in our state through the Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, which is commonly referred to as LRS. What is the Center for Independent Living? The term Centers for Independent Living means a consumer-controlled, community-based, cross-disability, non-residential, private, nonprofit agency. It's designed and operated within a local community by individuals with disabilities and provides an array of independent living services. At a minimum, 51% of the staff are persons with disabilities, and 51% of the board of directors are persons with significant disabilities. A SILK, a Center for Independent Living, provides at a minimum the following core services: information referral, independent living skills training, individual and systems advocacy, peer counseling, transition assistance from nursing homes to other institutions to community-based residences, assisting individuals to avoid institutional placement, transition of youth with significant disabilities after completion of secondary education to post-secondary life. Louisiana has 8 centers for independent living located throughout the state. New Horizons has centers located in Shreveport, Monroe, and Alexandria. Resources for Independent Living has centers located in Kenner and in Baton Rouge. Southwest Louisiana Independent Center has centers located in Lake Charles, Leesville, and Lafayette. What is the CAP program? The CAP program refers to the Client Assistance Program. It helps individuals working with or applying for Louisiana Rehabilitation Services and the American Indies Rehabilitation Services understand all their benefits and rights under the Rehab Act of 1973. Disability Rights Louisiana provides the CAP services in Louisiana. Will I lose benefits if I go to work? Social Security and other programs have many programs and rules. The goal is for people who can work to work, but they also understand sometimes people still need benefits due to employment inequities people with disabilities often face. It's not unusual for individuals with disabilities to still collect some of their benefits while they work. We highly recommend individuals with disabilities to work with their benefits plan and service agencies. They are able to go over your unique situation and give you guidance that's specific to you. Louisiana Benefits Plan and Services has 2 Social Security assistance funded work incentive planning and assistance grant. One is located at the LSU Human Development Center. The other one is located at Disability Rights Louisiana. Is healthcare transition a part of school transition? Healthcare transition is the process of moving a child or family-centered model of healthcare to an adult patient-centered model of healthcare, with or without transitioning to a new clinician. It involves planning, transfer, and integration in an adult-centered healthcare. The goal of healthcare transition are to improve the ability of youth and young adults with and without special healthcare needs to manage their own health care and effectively use health services, and to ensure an organized process in pediatric and adult health care practices to facilitate transition, preparation, transfer of care, and integration into adult-centered health care. If you need assistance learning about healthcare transition, then you should include it as part of your transition plan at your school. One of the resources for transition that we're going to talk about is smoothmovesYHT.org. It provides a great resource that can help map out steps for healthcare and transition. Can my child with an intellectual disability go to college? Yes. Louisiana has several programs available at universities and community colleges around the state for students with intellectual disabilities. Because this list is growing, you can call your local Family Center to discuss what options are available for your child. And there's a link on the slide that can give you some information as well. And again, you'll get this emailed to you after our webinar. And I spoke a little bit about the smoothmovesYHT.org. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. This is the home page where you can get there by going again to smoothmovesYHT.org. This website was created by a nurse from the Louisiana Bureau of Family Health. It was created with teens and youth in mind that are getting ready to transition into adulthood. A lot of the resources there are specific to healthcare transition, which is very important as many students with disabilities also have healthcare concerns. However, it has some other great resources too. One of the things I really like about this site is it has tips and how-tos. It gives really clear information on how to navigate the site. Many sites don't have this type of tool to help the user. This is located on the home page. You just have to scroll down to see it. And then again, let's look at the toolbar at the top of the home page. The gold arrow is pointing to the YHT plan. You're now on the YHT plan page. This page has information on how to plan for transition. If you click where it has planning tools by the gold arrow, a bunch of great resources, planning resources come up. And now we're going to mention some of those resources when you click there. What you see is a family's toolkit, a pediatric to adult healthcare transition. And then there's more. You'll see your about career planning questionnaire and your future, your life transition workbook, which includes checklists, career planning tips, and more. And then there's also videos. The site is filled with inspiring videos from youth and young adults advocating for their rights. So let's summarize what we've learned today. From our learning objectives, we were to provide you with the meaning of frequently asked used acronyms related to the transition process, like age of majority, transfer of rights, jumpstart, April Dunn Act, Leap Connect, and Voc Rehab. In order to increase your knowledge about the post-school transition process, you learn that your child needs a transition plan in place the year he or she turns 16 years of age. The plan is for his or her goal for their future, and a child can have a transition plan earlier than 16 if, and we discussed, ways to determine or identify future goals. You also learn about graduation options that your child can go through, and that your child can stay in school through the year they turn 21 years of age. We discussed different adult agencies that should be invited to the transition meetings with your permission. And we introduced you some of the adult service agencies or what they do. And we provide you with information on Louisiana community colleges and universities that offer developmental disabilities programs. And finally, we shared a lot of great resources and handouts to use in the transition process. So we're going to go and do a recheck activity. I'm going to show the same 5 statements that I posted earlier in the check-in. Our goal was to increase knowledge about the frequently asked questions around transition. I hope I was able to accomplish this goal. And your answers for the choices are the same, like before. Number 1, I strongly agree. Number 2, I agree. Number 3, I disagree. Number 4, I strongly disagree. And number 5, not applicable. So we're going to launch the poll. And remember, you have to scroll down to see all of the questions. So they may not be on the screen until you scroll down. And so here's the statements. Number 1, I have a good understanding of the basic IEP process. Number 1, I have a good understanding of the basic IEP process. And your choices are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. Number 2, I'm able to support my child in making decisions about life after high school. Number 2, I'm able to support my child in making decisions about life after high school. And your choices are number 1, strongly agree. Number 2, agree. Number 3, disagree. Number 4, strongly disagree. And number 5, not applicable. Okay. Question 3. I understand the different agencies I need to connect with once my child is out of high school. Number 3, I understand the different agencies I need to connect with once my child is out of high school. And your choices are strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. Number 4, I feel confident in my ability to help my child have a productive life after high school. Number 4, I feel confident in my ability to help my child have a productive life after high school. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, and not applicable. And the last one, number 5, I have a good understanding of the transition part of the IEP. Number 5, I have a good understanding of the transition part of the IEP. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree, not applicable. And we'll give you just a few more minutes to complete your polling. And you can use the chat box to let me know if you need more time before we move on. Okay, I don't see anybody need more time, so I hope that you're finished. And on this slide, you see a lot of resources that we mentioned in today's training. Links for these resources will be provided in the information you receive after you complete your evaluation. So there's graduation resources for students with disabilities from the Louisiana Department of Education. There's secondary transition considerations and guiding questions for youth exiting high school. There's information or a link for Jumpstart, and there's a link for Louisiana Post-Secondary Inclusive Education Alliance, and then the one about Smooth Moves YHT that I mentioned. And so in addition to all those links we discussed today, you're going to receive electronic copies of these documents, the secondary transition considerations and guiding questions for youth for exiting high school, a transition skills checklist, a selected service who must register handout. So if you missed my email to you, please let Families Helping Families know by contacting us. You can contact us by phone. Our phone number is area code 337-436-2570, or you could email us at info@FHFSWLA.org. So if you didn't get your information after this webinar, we definitely want to get it to you. And so if you need additional support on parent rights or any other education issue, you can call Families Helping Families. Again, there's our phone number, toll free, 1-800-894-6558. If you're in the Lake Charles area, you could call us locally at 337 area code 436-2570. And again, you could email us at info@FHFSWLA.org. And if you're attending and you're outside our area of Southwest Louisiana, then we could point you to the Family Center near where you live. If you just contact us and let us know. We also have lots of information on our social media channels. We invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We want you to like us, follow us, and share our posts and retweet us. Our website is a great source of information too. You can go there to find out about our newsletter or other great resources. We have a lot of good links on our link section to different agencies that might help with transition too. And our website address is www.FHFSWLA.org. I would like to request that everyone complete his or her evaluation on this webinar. And there's also a link that you can go to. Let me see. Let me see, I got the link. Let me scroll up to get the link and I'll put it back in the chat box. Let's see, scroll back up, here we go. We'll copy the link and put it back in the chat box so you'll have it. Okay. And we would like you to complete the survey evaluation for this training. It's very short. It should take you less than 2 minutes to complete it. The information from this helps us improve our training. And if you missed the pop-up of this survey, again, it'll be emailed to you. So everyone that is registered and complete the survey is going to be sent a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, a certificate of attendance, and any handouts that I mentioned on the resource page. If you got on and you're not registered with us already, you can put your email in the chat box and that way I'll know to be sure to include you when I email the materials for the training so that you can get that. And we've gone through many frequently asked questions, and we hope you learned some new things. However, if you have a question that's not being answered, feel free to ask at this time or email it to us at Families Help Families at info@FHFSWLA.org, or you can use the chat box. But like a lot of people, you may not have a question at the moment, but you may think of one later, and that's where you can either call us or email us, and we'll be glad to get back with you. And so I'm looking in the chat box if anybody has any questions. And I'm not aware of any questions at the moment. Again, thank you for participating in this webinar. Don't forget to check out Families Help Families of Southwest Louisiana website and Facebook page for all our upcoming trainings and events. We also have our annual conference coming up on April the 14th. It is from 9 to 12 on Zoom at the virtual conference. And the resource fair is also virtual. That's a part of our conference from 9 to 12 on April the 14th. That's a Wednesday. It's free. There's limited space available. So if you plan on attending, we ask you to register early. You can find out about this on our Facebook page and our website, or you can call us to get more information on it. Again, thank you very much for attending our training today. And we'd love to see you back on another webinar that we offer. So please register for any upcoming webinars we have so you can join us again. And again, thank you for attending. And I'll wait for a few